Part 2 of cassette unracking with Chinny. In part 1, we looked at general cassettes and computer cassettes and asked why computers use these and how they use them. Very quick overview, not too technical, I hope. Link to that below. And this is part 2, where we're going to look at the actual real-world performance of cassettes on the tapes you were buying in the shops, be it blanks or your games or whatever. I mean, perhaps you bought your cassettes from a market stall. And here's a good example of a market stall cassette. Bought this in Southsea. It's a Maxim. It's designed to sound like Maxell, but it's not. This is what people like Cassette Comeback, who's got a superb channel, by the way, and I bought some of these blank tapes from him. He would call this a Type 0. You'd say, what's a Type 0? Because a Type 1 is a ferric, Type 2 is chrome, blah, blah, blah. And Type 4 is metal, and Type 3 is that weird ferric chrome thingy. God, if the tape head people are watching this, they're going to hate me. And I've even written the script, and I'm already off of it for the first time since I did the Sinclair takeover by Amstrad Video. Where was I? Yes, so, you know, this is a typical cheapy cassette, Maxim, really nasty. We'll have the compact cassette logo, even that was years out of date by this time. It rattles. I don't know if I can wind this on for you. Oh, come on, ChinnyVision. Oh, goodness me, that tape looks cheap. Oh, it's horrible. The mechanism feels on my finger just... Oh, it's jammed. It's... so you can't see any of it. Horrible. Oh, look at the state of that. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Get you in there. Can you see that? Can you see that there? I've had a little bit of trouble. It's a cassette that's been in a cupboard for years. I bought these from Southsea Pier, from a market there. Or was it a little newsagent at the end? Because they were cheap and I didn't know any better. I thought these would be useful for something. And, oh, look at that. It's just thin, nasty tape. The ferric oxide, I'm winding this on, is coming off the tape. That's not going near any of my cassette record. It feels so nasty on your finger when you... there. Or we've got better cassettes here, which I'm going to open up in a minute. I mean, let's open one up. Why don't we open one up? We haven't opened the chromes up yet. What are we going to open? I've bought loads. I've got loads. There's a computer cassette from TDK. Interestingly, I've heard Cassette Comeback say computer cassettes were usually Type 0, but this clearly isn't. It's a proper TDK. And in fact, also I've got a Boots computer cassette down here, which isn't new, but it says it's got made in Switzerland all over it, which apparently is a good sign for a quality cassette. There was some manufacturer that made tapes in Switzerland. I can't remember who. I saw Cassette Comeback do a very good video on them. And that's not a Type 0. That's a proper Type 1 with good media in it. Goodness knows what that's got on it. I bought that off of eBay used just to show you guys. These are replica cassette, brand new. Doesn't look it, but unused. Let's not let daylight in upon magic, but I'm back to the script now. So under control conditions, let's do some tests on some brand new old stock cassettes. Look like these ones I bought. Read the script, Chinny. My test files comprise of a section of the ChinnyVision theme, a small section of 1 kHz and 2 kHz tones, and then a full frequency sweep from 50 Hz to 20 kHz. So we get the full frequency range on there. So we're going to test out a few of these cassettes and just see how they generally perform. That'll give us basically... I'll throw the script away. What it basically will give us is three things I've planned on this, right? How it sounds musically, so if we can hear if there's any cassette dropout, and how the cassettes sound musically. We've got a good range here to test. We've got some tones on there, and the reason I put the tones in, because most computers have their loading tones at 1 kHz and 2 kHz, so if we're getting good reproduction there, then the cassette should be good for computer use. And then finally got a full frequency sweep. And you'll see the graphs on the back of these showing you how they're supposed to respond. I'm going to start off at 50 kHz, basically as low as you're going to need, and go right there up to 20 kHz. And then I can compare the original recording to what is played back. So I don't have a fancy twin head cassette deck like Cassette Comeback. So what I've got to do is record all of these once and then play them all back in once. They're all being played out and recorded back into a professional sound card on my mixing desk here, as you can see all over there. It's going to go through there. And then we'll come back and I'll listen to them all and analyse them. And it could get quite long and boring, but you might find it interesting. I hopefully will. And I'm going to be opening up, I'm trailing ahead, guys, opening up some very expensive cassettes. I've bought quite a few different cassettes. Look, a clown cassette. We all use these. We all use... Oh, look at this one. Look, training. This is going to be Amstrad cassette. Amstrad cassette. Amstrad cassette. Oh, I'm going to enjoy opening you up. Right. Oh, and who doesn't like a bit of Bush? Incidentally, I've been talking about these new cassettes that we're going to look at, but here's some old ones. Bit dusty. Been in the carrier bag for years. Don't know what's on them. Here's an Memorex MXRIS. I used to use a lot of these. They were good cassettes. Ferric standard, nicely built, good quality cassette. Now, I saw Cassette Comeback say nobody ever used Tandy tapes, but I did. I used a lot of them because we had a Tandy up the road. And the advantage was, I know they weren't the cheapest, but you could buy them one at a time, which meant pocket money wise, you could go and buy a copy of your Sinclair and get a cassette from Tandy up the road as well when you needed one, rather than having to commit to a 5-pack of TDKs that would have been better value for money, but you wouldn't be able to squeeze into your budget that week because you wanted to tape some songs off the radio or copy some stuff for a mate. That's a standard ferric, and that is a chrome, and I know that's a chrome because you can see the difference there. Can you see that there? Something I didn't mention in the first video. See, I missed out loads of stuff. I'm no good at this stuff. See, the ferric only has one hole for the record, but there's actually 2 holes there for chrome, and the tape recorder will look in there and will detect its little thing. If it's chrome enabled, can go in there and go, I'm going to adjust my bias, and it will adjust itself for the chrome. Chrome is always darker, and I was going to say it smells waxy, apparently. Can't smell anything in there, but I always found these ones to be good, and I think they're Maxells. I think they've always got this kind of similar feel to them. I could be wrong, and I've got no idea if these are the same as. So I don't. Oh no, they might not be. They look similar. Oh, but they've got the same bit in the middle. I don't know. Different shells. I'm not a cassette expert. I love the Cassette Comeback channel. He knows far more than me. The reason I'm interested in cassettes is because it's a storage medium for our computer games. So, are these the same cassette? Are they the same, made in the same factory? Well, that one's chrome, that one isn't. You've got similar markings there. Do the hubs look similar? Possibly. A lot of dirt on that one. I mean, this is what you used to buy in your 5-packs from Tandy. Goodness knows what's on this. Your TDK kind of standard. I know there's different types, but you used to buy these. And I had some of these as well. These are Curry's C15 computer cassettes that I got with a Spectrum I bought in about 1992. That's probably got pirated games on there. So, I mean, yeah, that's quite interesting if you're interested in that kind of thing. Right, now I am going to get the cassette deck out. Okay, so this is my early 2000s Sony tape deck. I bought it at the time because I was still using cassettes, and it's a single head non-auto reverse unit, nothing fancy, although it's a decent Sony with ceramic cassette holder, calibration facilities, and it's the TC-KB820S. And it's a little bit dusty, it's been in storage. I've given it a quick wipe over, but the heads are clean, that's all you need to know. And people will say, well, you need to test these things on proper Nakamichi Dragon tape recorders that cost a couple of £1,000 and have instant playbacks. They've got a separate play and record head, so they've got 2 heads, so you can hear the stuff as it's recorded. I can't do that, and if you want that kind of thing, there's far better channels for that type of stuff. What we're going to do is record some stuff onto cassette. It's going to go digitally from the computer into the mixing desk, into the tape recorder, and I'm going to play it back and analyse the differences using the file I have created. And we're going to get to open some cassettes as well, if I can get in here. We should probably look at these before I rip them open as well. This is a Memorex. Used to see a lot of these around Woolworths, stacked up in the shelf, packs of 5 Memorex DBS1 cassettes, known affectionately as the clown cassette. And apparently there's 2 types of these knocking around, and you can tell the difference apparently with the types of spools. All I care about is how it performs. So we're going to open it up. Unsealing stuff that has not been opened for never been opened since. There we go. Look at that. Brand new cassette. And I could preserve this, but nah. Right. Look at that. Look at that lovely cassette. No one's been in here for early 90s, late 80s, something like that. Memorex DBS1 cassette. That's interesting. These Memorexes with the clear shells look very similar to the Woolworths own brand ones. But, I've dropped my card on the floor. High quality performance and value in a normal bias tape. Special formulation provides clear life like reproduction of your favourite rock, pop, jazz, country music, or pirating the hell out of your mate's computer games. Is it live or is it Memorex? They're still using that branding on there, if you can see that. Right, so we're going to pop this in the cassette recorder. I've not done this for years. This machine has an auto calibration feature, so I need to set that up, and we press that button there, and it should, it says cal on there. Do I have to press play to make it do it, or pause? Right, there we go. What it does, I think, it records some tone onto the cassette, plays it back, and then calibrates the tape to it. High-end decks do this. I don't know how well this one does it. That recording I've done on this deck is very, very little. It was used mainly for not even much playback at all, to be honest. It's probably only got about 30 or 40 hours on it. So, right, that cassette should be ready. It is auto-calibrated. Now, I'm going to have to set up my levels first of all. So I'm going to make a small cut and then come back because I don't know what my levels are as yet. So 2 seconds. There we go. Right. So we've rewound. We can now press play. And let's see where we end up. So there we go. That should all be done. And I'm going to play it back. So here we are. I'm sitting in front of my Mac. I've got the audio from the different clips loaded in so we can analyse it. And apologies if the audio sounds different because I've got a different microphone in front of me. So sorry about that. Inconsistent. What can I say? But I need the Mac to be able to actually analyse this rather than the Linux machine I've got over there in the studio, because I need to use Adobe Audition, which we're in here. And this is the playback of the ferric cassette. So you can see it sounds a lot crunchier and a very different sound, but it's a cheap ferric standard cassette that you would have used in your ghetto blaster, and you'd have been taping stuff off the radio. So the frequency response is actually quite good. Noise level isn't too bad. You can see on the analysis here, on the kind of heat graph here, all that kind of purpley haze stuff is noise. That's all tape hiss that isn't present on the original recording. See, the original recording just has black on there, and it will also have black up in these sections here as well. But on the ferric, you can see what's going on there. You can see there's a lot more noise over the recording, but ferrics are very noisy tapes anyway. You can see actually on the digital recording, the only kind of bits there are actually the audio itself. Everything else is pretty much silent. You can also see I recorded a 1 kilohertz tone, a 2 kilohertz tone, and a frequency sweep. And a frequency sweep starts off at a low frequency, and then I've taken it up to 20 kilohertz. And you can see that's the original master there. And you can see all the heat, kind of, I call it heat. It's where the energy is in the signal. And the 1 kilohertz and 2 kilohertz test is basically, it's to draw a parallel with a spectrum. And a spectrum records most of its loading tones between 1 kilohertz and 2 kilohertz. So we're just going to see how the tapes react there. And you can just see it's kind of very solid, nothing else going on the original. But if we go across to the ferric cassette, you can see we've got all these other lines. We have all these other lines compared to a much purer signal. Sorry if you've got your headphones on. And what these lines are harmonics. So on analog, this happens with analog. You'll get a, so you've got, it's the original one's at 1 kilohertz, you've got one at 2 kilohertz, 3 kilohertz, 4 kilohertz, and it eases off. And the same with the 2 kilohertz tone, you've got a harmonic down there, and then you've got more harmonics up here. You can't avoid that with analog. It happens in all sorts of analog. But you can also see something else going on here, and it's called print through. And it's where it happens with analog tape, where the tape's coiled back in together and the signal ends up on the tape either side of the spool, if you see what I mean. So what happens is a whole, my tone there is 3 seconds. And look, beforehand, we have down there in the signal noise a 1 kilohertz tone, very faint. So we have tape hiss, and then you'll hear a tone happen. You might not be able to hear that, but it's there. It's right down in the level of the tape hiss, and the tape hiss, kind of the signal noise floor is about minus 49 dB. And it stays at minus 49 or 48 dB there. Now, my recollection is, and we're going to see this on other cassettes, is, and I'm wandering away from my microphone, so sorry about that, I am rambling. My recollection is Memorex cassettes of this, which this is one, were particularly bad for this. That you would get on quiet sections a little bit of audio from afterwards come through before, if you see what I mean. You can also see there the noise level down there, that's kind of tape hiss and all that kind of hiss there, as we said, which will be black on a digital recording. We've also got this heat graph here. Now, I'm going to draw some caveats, frequency sweep here. And I'm going to draw some caveats with this because this drop off here of the signal level, and that's how loud it is part of that's happening in my mixing desk. And, well, let me show you to explain, but don't take this as a... All we're concerned with here, really, is that bit. Ignore the harmonics there and ignore all this swirly stuff down there, because that's, again, weird stuff that's happening. It should look like this. That's the digital signal, but it's coming out like this. And a lot of this stuff here is to do with the mixing desk and digital signal and stuff we're not going to go into today. But what we can do is you can see the tone there on the frequency graph. And we can see that really once you get the ferric cassette above 15 kilohertz, which is the limit of FM radio, so if you're taping off the radio, the performance really drops off. Ferric's no good at high frequencies. there's this weird stuff happening here. You can see another peak there. And this is, we think this is the digital to analog converter in my mixing desk that's causing problems. Once the signal gets above a certain level, it causes these weird things to go on. So ignore that. But basically, what we can ascertain something from this graph, not as much as I wanted to do. We can ascertain that ferric performance drops off the higher the frequencies. And we can also ascertain that ferric performance is quite noisy. But on the other hand, for a computer cassette, it will give you a nice loud signal in the areas you need it to do. Certainly on the spectrum cuts off at 5 kilohertz, and you've got a nice solid signal there. The spectrum, if you're loading from that, only cares about that. It will ignore all this noise. It will ignore all this other stuff. All it wants is 1 kilohertz and 2 kilohertz. Phew, right. Tape 2. Right, time for our next cassette. The DVS1 back in its box. And that is the typical cassette you would have been using in a far inferior recorder as well. Typical Woolworths fare in a 5-pack. We'll pop that there. Where should we go next? I know. We'll go for the realistic super tape, because this is a chrome tape I used to use quite a lot of, because I could buy them in singles from Tandy, because chrome always cost a little bit more. So you could get a bit more for your money if you bought your copy of Amstrad Action, and then you'd have something left over to buy your super tape from Tandy with. Now, I've heard tell these aren't too good, but we will see. Let's open her up. This is the USA import one, by the way, from Cassette Comeback. So if you want one of these, go and buy one off him. Not common in the UK. Don't know why, because I had loads of them. But we will get this one opened up here. Are they as I remember them? Oh, is the case different to my one over there? He says. Well, these could be American ones. No, they've got the same bit in the middle, haven't they? They've got that same thing we saw before with that. They do look different, though. They feel cheaper than the one I've got. Where's the one I've got? Typically, I've got the HD Plus. Sorry, it's a Mars over here. I have an HD Plus there. As you can see, the camera focused. Get the camera focused in on that. So that's a 1994, I reckon. It says master on it, and it's what I think is on there. That's a 1994 Super Tape. That one could be earlier. They feel about the same. It's a different tape, isn't it? It is perfectly feasible. The USA ones could have been different. I said both are chrome. My ones obviously have the White Protect snapped off, but this one has not. There you go. There. See there. That will tell the tape recorder it is chrome. Let's get this one calibrated and see what it sounds like. Again, I'm going to say to people, look, you may not have bought lots of tapes from Tandy, but I did. So I think this is a good example of certainly what I was using when I wanted something a little bit more special than my standard ferric cassette. Let's auto-cal it. Just do its thing. It's just recording tones and it will play it back. So it gets halfway through, rewinds it and plays it back and goes, yeah, I'm fine with that. It's just fine-tuning itself to that particular cassette for the biasing. Your Ghetto Blaster, your Amstrad MIDI Hi-Fi wouldn't have done this. And indeed, my previous, Iowa twin tape deck auto reverse before I had this. Very nice, but it used to put very occasional clicking on the recordings, and it didn't have all this. And I bought this one from the local Sony centre. And I was always told that non-auto reverse units are better because the heads are better. Maybe urban myths. There's a lot of kind of urban myths around tapes. But yeah, so this one I should be able to record at a higher level and get better sound off. But we will see. We'll do a comparison, and I will be back shortly and show you the results. So here we are, back on the Mac with my different microphone, and this is the Chrome cassette from Tandy, the realistic cassette. And you'll notice a big difference. You will notice from the ferric cassette a lot less noise on there. There's a lot less print through. As you can see there, look, it's barely anything compared to the other one. Still a noise floor. The noise floor isn't actually that significantly different. It's a couple of dB better than the Memorex ferric. But then again, these realistic ones aren't supposed to be that good from what I see. Certainly, I think the cassette comeback review wasn't that good on these ones. And I think this is the same tape. Well, it must be the same tape he had because I bought it from him. So let's have a listen to how this sounds. Not as defined as the original, but a fairly good sound. These are exactly the kind of tapes you would have been buying. I've got no idea what these clicks are going on during the end. There's some kind of interference from somewhere. But there's less noise, far better quality cassette, far less print through there. Look, it just fades out. The further the way the cassette is from the original tone, the more that fades out into nothing. And that's really, let's get that ferric back up. And you can see the difference there. That's massive difference on the Chrome. And have I got the right cassette there? There's the original. There's the Chrome. There's the ferric. So much noise on the ferric, but ferrics are brilliant for just general recording and your computer stuff. All your computer stuff would have been on ferrics, and you can see what's going on, even on the frequency sweeps there. I know, again, these weird things are going on there, which you need to ignore, but you can see, look at that there, that harmonic there, going up there on the ferric, compared to the Chrome, which is, not there. Or they've got kind of weird things going on across there and the harmonics up there. So and there's the original for you to look at. So Chrome, better quality, and you can get better quality Chromes than the one we're looking at here. Less noise. Your tape deck's got to be able to take advantage of it. It's no good for computer stuff. But for your music, it's your best, most affordable bet. And now we come to the expensive bit. Where's it gone? The best money could buy. Well, not quite the best money could buy. The best I could afford to get hold of. A TDK metal tape. Now, you wouldn't have had one of these back in the day. I bought a load when Tandy closed down very cheaply. I say very cheaply, they were still quite expensive. Don't know where they've gone. So I had to go online on eBay and buy this one. Metal tape basically gives the best performance, but it is the most expensive. No commercial cassettes that back in the day were released on metal, certainly not for computers. No Chrome stuff for computers either. All the computer stuff was ferric. Some music cassettes may have been released with Chrome cassette, but metal cassettes no. But your high-end Walkman, there's this one over here, support metal tape. Yeah, it kind of does. It says it's got a metal CRO CR02 tape adjustment. It doesn't really. It just has it will adjust the biasing, but it will adjust it for chrome. It won't know it's metal in there. It just thinks it's chrome. But this machine will. Instead, this machine actually supports Type 3. I guess it doesn't. I might be able to fool it into. You can usually fool these things into. Stop fingering your tape recorder, Chinny, and get on with it. Because what people want to see is you open a very expensive cassette. I can't remember how much this cost. I think it was about £20. So we get you in there. We'll have a nice look at it first. There are better models available. Well, I've got no zoom today because I'm on a wide angle fixed lens. So there's a few little jump cuts. What have we got on the back? Ultrafine ferrovinks. Are they finer vinks? They're inventing things. Metal particles densely packed in the magnetic layer. Extended dynamic range. More power, less distortion. Suitable for CD, digital and analog sources. Unauthorized copyrighted. Blah, 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 blah. You're going to prison. Says it supports up to plus 6.5 dB on the low end. Bass noise 58.5, dynamic range 65 dB. These other cassettes have got any kind of stats on them that tell you about stuff they don't. But this one will. Is that Sony ever? No, none of them I've got here do. But let's, come on, we'll do this. I'll get this nice and close up to camera so you can see the pain of. Open that way. There you go. That's my. Some people open these up and preserve them. I'm just opening them up for your pleasure. This feels so wrong. This feels such a bad thing to be doing. What's it look like? Look like an essay. Oh, nice. Looky, looky, looky at that. 50. I don't know what's a 50 and a 60. I don't. Anyone else has seen a 50 cassette before? Let's bring that in closer so it's actually in focus. Ever seen a 50 cassette before? Look at that. I'm going to sniff it. Smells of Scalextrics. The plastic on Scalextrics, not that burning smell you get with the Scalextrics itself, if you see what I mean. It's a nice. Is it a ceramic cassette holder? No, the really expensive ones have ceramic. That's plastic. Look at that. But the cassette's really. ChinnyVision pens, suitable not for winding Maxim tapes forward, but suitable for winding Oh, that mechanism feels so smooth. That Maxim I was playing with, where it wouldn't go on the ChinnyVision cassette. Look at that tape. Very shiny, very fine particles. Very shiny. ChinnyVision pens available still from ChinnyVision.com if you were wondering. Might be still some calendars left by the time you look at this, or perhaps not. That's a nice shell. That is a nice shell. It feels, and look, you see there, those two holes there are how the machine detects it's a metal tape. So it first of all detects that for chrome and then goes, but you've got these two holes there which mean metal. And what do you get on your J card? You get some stickers and you get a standard kind of T. Oh, it's quite thick. I mean, shame on you, Tandy, for the crap you put in yours. I wish I still had some of those Tandy. The Tandy ones I had, the Tandy metal tapes I had were really nice, but they were clearly bought in from someone else because they were more like this, actually. Come to think of it, was a long time ago. And that little black streak across there. Super dynamic range. In it goes. Type 4. back of the net. Right, so let's auto-cal it. And metal tape. A metal tape. I've opened my only metal tape for you guys. ChinnyVision does have a Patreon, by the way, if you want to help out. I could have opened the Amstrad one. I'm not going to open the Amstrad one at the moment. See, look, we've got Bush and Amstrad here. And actually, I bet these are okay. I bet these are half decent tapes. I bet that, although look at the thickness of the Amstrad. Alan's been tight there. Slimline case. I hate slimline cases. Slimline cases are and the Fujis are the worst for this. Are the absolute bane of. Oh no, the Amstrad got. That's interesting. Anyway, yeah, hate those because you can't reuse the cassettes for your computer games because you know exactly where this Memorex cassette case is going. It's going to go on a old computer game since it's a nicer thing. Anyway, I digress. What we need is I put my Bush away. This channel is, of course, not a children's channel. I have to declare that every time. Is it calibrated? It has auto-calibrated. Bish, bash, bosh. Right, okay. I'm going to get my level set up and off we go. So here we are with the metal cassette, the expensive one. The one you could never possibly have afforded back in the day. The one that you certainly probably don't want to use now because they are ludicrously expensive. This isn't even the best ones available, but it's a good one. It's a TTK MA, and I've got the weird 50-minute one. So let's have a listen. And yeah, it sounds far closer to the original. Far closer. Very good top end frequency response there. Very faithful audio. Very low noise floor. But I've noticed one weird thing with this. Look at what's going on there. You get noise floor about minus 53 dB. Drops off completely back. Or something went wrong with the PC playback because the low levels are there, but you got a little bit of print through there, a little bit of low level noise, potentially a bit more than that chrome. Where's the chrome? That's the ferric. That's the ferric there. That's the chrome. That's the metal. I don't know why that's gone blank there, but you can see there's a noise level isn't that much better than the chrome. You've got a better high-end response though, and if we go across to the onto the frequency sweep, see it holds that peak for a lot longer. So if we just look at the music sections here, just to compare all three, here's the ferric, and what you get is a higher noise floor, more noise in general, and a earlier cut off on the audio frequencies, although it still does quite well. On the chrome, you get better audio quality, much more faithful reproduction, lower noise floor, lower noise in general. And we go to the metal. And you get audio quality that's pretty much indistinguishable from the original source. It's still rolling off a little bit at the top there, but those frequencies up there are, well, about 20 kilohertz. You can't hear that. If we compare that to the original there, yeah, it goes right. It goes right up. It's 48 kilohertz. So this is probably going up to 24 kilohertz on that graph. But metal will do. But metal will do pretty well on most audio sources there. A little bit of noise in there. Chrome's good enough for most people. And ferric, fine for taping off the radio in your computer games, really. And there's different variations of these cassettes available. So you can get a good ferric, you can get a bad ferric. You can get a good chrome, you can get a bad chrome. You can get there's metal tapes that are now on sale that apparently aren't much good either. So yeah, but for one last bit of fun, what we'd do now, we've been talking about music cassettes there, which you could use for copying your games, recording your own software. The metal tape and chrome tape you probably wouldn't, but you may have copied your music albums or tape stuff on the radio on them. This is a dedicated computer cassette. It looks like used, but actually it's new old stock. It's still got its £3.95 price tag on there. I'm guessing it was never sealed. Made by Replica, who are a known tape brand, known for discs and things like that. As I may have mentioned, some people seem to think that because computer cassettes are lower quality than standard ferric type ones like the Memorex or this Sony here, and the Memorex clown cassette we saw earlier. But this one, I don't know. I think it might be quite a nice one. So we pop it in and do some tests on it and see where we end up. I think it might be quite good. Hopefully it genuinely never has been used. We've got this TDK tape here. I don't really want to open this one. It's a very nice example that's I think that'd be a nice cassette. 15 minutes, 7.5 minutes a side. TDK. I think that's going to be a standard, decent quality computer cassette. Talks about, well, they all talk stuff on the back, don't they? Anyway, let's get this going and see how we end up. Terrible. I'm getting a little bit of dropout, and dropout is just where the audio, well, hopefully it kind of sounds like what it means. It's little bits where the audio isn't as loud or isn't recording properly on the tape. You can see a few little marks there on the audio where after the beat there where the signal appears to be dropping out a little bit. It's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. If we compare it to the ferric we had from the Maxell, has that crunchy ferric sound to it. But really, you're not going to be recording music on these, but that did better than I expected. What you're going to be recording on them is tone. Oh, look, there's a bit of dropout there. That's tape dropout. There, you can see it, where the signal has just gone off the tape. So perhaps these aren't as good as I thought. You can definitely, we've not seen that appear on the other tapes. Of course, these will be recorded in mono anyway, but that's interesting. And down here on these tones as well. Dropout shouldn't matter too much to the computer, providing it's not too bad. But you can, oh yeah, look at that. See? That's what your computer wants. That line there. It's still there, and the Spectrum will probably be quite happy with that. But that's, yeah, Yeah, we've not really seen that on the others, have we? We go back to that Maxell one. See, where's the dropout there? Tiny little bit on there, but it's not impacting your 1 kilohertz tone down there. And in here as well, there only dropped tiny little bits, but not much. And again, it's not impacting your tone as it goes up because the energy is overcoming that bit. It's not, you see there, it's not significant, is it? Whereas on the replica, that's quite significant. So that's worse than I thought it was, to be honest. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Because I thought musically that sounded okay. But actually, listening to it on headphones rather than speakers, you can hear it go. You can hear it go. Not much print through, though. Very good on print through, actually. Barely anything there. This would be okay for a Spectrum cassette. Consider this is a 35-year-old cassette. Okay, it's new, but not sealed. I don't think it's too bad. Is it a Type 0? I.e., you know, not good enough to be used for Type 1 music? Possibly. It's not the worst I've heard. And it's fine for computer data. Computers only going to care up to 5 kilohertz anyway. How's the signal? Yeah, you can see the strength of the signal just drops off as it goes up there as well. So, and oh, look at that. You can see in the graph up here, there's significant problems there. There, go there. You can see it really does drop. Yeah. If I was recording stuff on via computer these days, while there may be an appeal in using an original computer cassette, if you're going to do it, use one of those TDKs. Perhaps I haven't tested that yet, but certainly not a kind of generic computer cassette. Or get a music cassette, why not? Or go to Tapeline and buy some of his custom stock, which I assume will perform better than this. Perhaps I should get some of those in. Anyway, I'm wittering. Back to the mixing desk. Well, I was going to test some more tapes, but this has all taken rather much longer than I expected. We're probably going on for 40 minutes now. So what are the conclusions that we can come to from these little experiments we've done today? Well, a good ferric cassette would give you reasonable quality. I don't think there was much wrong with what you were hearing there. Certainly for taping things off the radio, a ferric cassette was good enough, or copying your mate's computer games, or general recording. They were cheap, they were decent quality, as long as you bought a good brand, and of course maintain your deck as well. Chrome cassettes give the best quality to price ratio. Metal cassettes, the third one we heard there, are far more expensive, but actually the Chrome cassette is actually quite close in audio performance to that metal cassette. Yes, the metal has a better top end and a slightly fuller sound, but it's not the equal, if you see what I mean, jump in price to performance with the Chrome to the metal that it is from the ferric to the Chrome. Also, again, that Chrome I tested 3 tapes, pretty more 2 of those tapes at random. Third tape only had 1 metal tape. We could have had a very good ferric there, and we could have had a poor Chrome, we don't know. Metal tapes actually give superb performance. They are the best quality you will get from a cassette, but by goodness, you would have paid for it back in the day, and you will really pay for it now. I did get lots more tapes in thanks to the channel's generous Patreon supporters, and check out a link for that below if you want to help out ChinnyVision. So at some point in the future, I'll do a third cassette video where we look through some of these other tapes I've got here, because I'm especially interested to see what that Amstrad tape is like, and actually if the Bush tape is any good, because my memory says actually those were reasonable cassettes. But thanks for watching. I hope this was slightly informative, and we'll do some more tape things hopefully fairly soon.